It's 40,000 years ago, and you're crouched behind a fallen log, holding your breath. The grass around you is chest high and gold in the late light, and it hasn't moved in 2 full minutes, but you have a feeling it's about to. 40 feet away, someone is watching you back, and you've never seen this face before, not once in your whole life. No phone to call for backup, no badge to show, no treaty, no translator, no shared language. Just two humans, one stretch of wind-bent grass, and about 10 seconds to decide what happens next. One wrong move, and this could be the last afternoon either of you ever sees. But get the next few minutes right, and you might walk away with family you didn't know you had. This is Knock, and the wolf pup pressed flat against his leg is Ash, who has no idea how much is riding on this exact moment. Every single person alive today only exists because somewhere in a standoff just like this one, someone chose right. So what actually happened when two ancient tribes met for the very first time, out there with no rules and no witnesses, but the two of them? It's stranger and closer to your own life than you think. Here's the part nobody tells you. For most of human history, meeting a stranger wasn't rare. It was a 5-alarm emergency. Ancient bands were tiny, usually around 25 people tops. Everyone Knock has ever met in his life, he's already related to. That's cozy for storytelling. It's a death sentence for genetics. 25 people, marrying only each other, generation after generation. The math collapses fast. And on some level, everyone in that circle knows it. In 2017, a team led by Martin Sikora, with senior researcher Esk Willersleff at Cambridge, sequenced the genomes of 4 people buried together at Sungir, in Russia, 34,000 years ago. They expected close cousins. What they found stunned them. Nobody was more closely related than second cousins, inside a group that small. Their conclusion: small bands of 25 were likely nested inside far larger regional networks of roughly 200 people spread across many camps. Which means somebody 34,000 years ago was already crossing the Treeline on purpose, finding other bands, trading marriage partners, not just spear points. Then versus you, your dating app matches you with strangers by algorithm. Knock's ancestors had to survive the actual meeting first. A stranger wasn't just a threat. A stranger was the only thing standing between your bloodline and slow, quiet extinction. That's the tension every first meeting carried. Fear and desperate need, tangled up in the same held breath. But here's the part that makes the fear make sense. Sometimes it went catastrophically wrong. In 2016, a team led by Mirazón Lahr at Cambridge published something that rewrote the history books. At a site called Nataruk in Kenya, they found the remains of 27 people, dead almost 10,000 years ago. 10 of them showed unmistakable violence. Skull fractures, arrow wounds to the neck, fractured hands and ribs from what looks like a desperate struggle. Several had their hands bound. Obsidian at the scene came from a source neither local group actually used. That detail matters. It means these were 2 different tribes, with 2 different home ranges, meeting on ground neither of them called home. Some researchers think the 2 groups may have been competing over fish and fresh water, near the shore of an ancient lake that has since dried up. This is the oldest scientifically dated evidence of one human group attacking another. Full stop. Then versus you argue with strangers in comment sections. Knock's ancestors argued with strangers and sometimes never went home again. So yes, the fear in that opening scene was earned. Real people, real stakes, real blood in the grass. But, and here's the wild part, Nataruk is the exception researchers can actually find, not the rule. Quick gut check before we go further. If you were Knock right now, would you freeze, run, or wave? Comment below. I'll read them. Because if every single encounter ended like Nataruk, none of us would be alive to watch this video. So how did most encounters actually go right, with 0 shared language between 2 total strangers? Part of the answer is written on your face, right now, whether you realize it or not. In the 1960s, psychologist Paul Ekman traveled to Papua New Guinea to test something wild. Are facial expressions universal, or just learned? He showed photographs to the 4 people, a group with almost no outside contact at the time. They read fear, anger, joy, and disgust correctly every single time. No translator required. That's the oldest software humans own. A face reading a face, installed long before any spoken word. So when Nock and a stranger lock eyes, some part of both of them already understands what the other one is feeling. On top of that face reading, humans built something almost nobody talks about, an entire language for I come in peace, using gesture alone. Empty hands, held high, visible from distance. Weapons left behind, in plain sight, never hidden. Slow, deliberate steps, nothing sudden. Among Aboriginal Australian nations, messengers carrying a peace or trade request into unfamiliar territory carried a message stick, shown early, like a passport with no photo. Linguist Piers Kelly, who studied these objects in 2020, describes them as diplomatic tools. They mark the bearer as an envoy, not an invader. Cross someone's territory silently, uninvited, and it could cost you your life. Show the stick first, and custom obligated strangers to protect you instead. Then versus you. You flash ID at airport security. Nock's ancestors flashed empty hands at the Treeline. Same instinct, 40,000 years apart. Food helped too. Nothing lowers a raised spear like a shared meal. A fire two strangers can sit at is a fire neither one is fighting over. Ash, for the record, isn't thinking about diplomacy at all. Ash is thinking about whether the stranger brought food. And once the fear actually passed, the real deal-making began. Among the Jews/Hoansi San of the Kalahari, anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent decades documenting a system called Hexero. Strangers who met once didn't just trade an arrowhead and walk away. They became Hexero partners for life. Partners could live up to 125 miles apart. In hard years, you could travel there and simply live with them for months. No debt, no shame attached. That's not a business deal. That's an insurance policy, written in beads, ostrich shell, and trust that outlasts any single harvest. That system nearly vanished in living memory. By 1997, researchers found Hexero partnerships had already fallen by half, as cash slowly replaced it. A modern economy doesn't need a stranger 60 miles away. Your ancestors' whole survival depended on having exactly that. Nock's tribe needed exactly this. Not conquest, not walls, but a web of strangers turned family, stretched across the land, ready to catch you the moment your own valley failed. Then versus you. Your safety net is a savings account and a group chat. Nock's safety net was a stranger he once shared a fire with, 60 miles away. Here's the reversal that changes everything about this whole story. The bands that survived winter after winter, drought after drought, weren't the ones who fought the hardest. They were the ones who made family the fastest. Your brain still remembers all of this, whether you've ever noticed it or not. Scientists studying the amygdala, the brain's built-in alarm system, have found it can fire faster at an unfamiliar face from an unfamiliar group than a familiar one. That's not modern prejudice appearing out of nowhere. That's 40,000 years of a stranger could be Nataruk, or a stranger could save your entire bloodline, still wired in, still firing. Then versus you. Nock's heart pounded behind a fallen log. Yours pounds when an unfamiliar number lights up your phone. Same alarm, wildly different stakes. So back to that log, 40 feet from a stranger, with 10 seconds left on the clock. Nock does the thing that kept his whole line alive for 1,000 generations before him. He stands up slowly and opens both hands. The stranger's eyes flick down to Ash, tail wagging, completely unbothered by any of this, and something in the stranger's shoulders drops too. No words exchanged, no shared language, just two humans lowering their guard at exactly the same moment on ground that belongs to neither of them. By nightfall, there's a second fire burning right next to Nock's. By the next season, there's a marriage, a trade route, an alliance that outlives them both, and children who belong to neither tribe alone, but to both. This is how it actually happened again and again. Not with fireworks, but with two open hands, repeated for tens of thousands of years, until the whole species was quietly stitched together. So what happened when two ancient tribes met for the first time? Sometimes it was Nataruk, Genuine tragedy, real loss, fear that was completely justified. But far more often, it was a fire shared, a partner gained, a bloodline pulled back from the edge of itself. Every single stranger your ancestors survived meeting is one more link in the chain that ends with you, right now, watching this. Multiply that one moment by 10,000 generations, and you start to see just how many strangers had to become family, just so you could exist. Same human, different world. If your pulse ever spikes meeting someone new, that's not anxiety malfunctioning. That's 40,000 years of instinct still quietly doing its job. Tell me in the comments, freeze, run, or wave. And subscribe, because next time, Nock is going to face something even Ash can't warn him about.